Welcome, I'm Dan Kraus, founder of the Stock Investor Studio, and this is game-changing stock market news of the week. My take on this week's stock market news that matters. This is episode 104, week commencing Monday the 21st of June. And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, Boeing, Coinbase, Doordash, Beyond Meat. We're also going to be talking about Shake Shack, Splunk, the technology company, US banks, Microsoft, some really big upcoming IPOs to keep an eye on, Nike, Virgin Galactic, and a few other names. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel using the button in the bottom of the screen to get notified of these weekly updates. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Right, before we talk about stocks, let's kick it off with some cryptos, specifically Bitcoin. The volatility in the crypto market is showing no signs of abating. Bitcoin really just continuing its sell-off at the start of the week. It was below 30,000 at one point. It's now trading near the 35,000 level. It's seen a really nice recovery. Bitcoin is now down about half its April peak of nearly $65,000 a coin. MicroStrategy, which is one of the largest institutional investors in Bitcoin, they keep buying the pullbacks, and their position now is in the billions of dollars. Who else is buying? Well, I've been buying a little bit. I've been adding to my position through the GBTC, which is the Grayscale Bitcoin Investment Trust, which really just tracks the price of Bitcoin. So really, why did Bitcoin and crypto assets get smashed? Now, really because China continues to crack down on crypto mining, and all the coins, including Dogecoin, seem to be going wherever the opposite of to the moon is. So China really intensifying its crackdown on overall crypto mining, with authorities in the Sichuan province really ordering crypto mining projects to close. Now that's important because the Sichuan province hosts China's second largest mining community. And lastly, China's third largest bank, the Agricultural Bank of China, said on Monday this week that it would begin suspending customer accounts associated with any cryptocurrency transactions. So China is really clamping down on Bitcoin mining as part of a series of measurements to control overall financial risks and also energy consumption in the country, just as Mongolia has done. Now, why this all matters? Because Chinese restrictions really means that Bitcoin mining could, shift out of China, which is about 75% of the overall world's mining. Now, where could it go? It could come back to the US. Bitcoin miners are continuing to open up facilities in Texas, South Dakota, and in Kentucky because one can now get really big tax breaks if you spend as much as $1 million on new mining equipment. Lastly, on cryptos overall, I thought this was quite interesting. A very, very well-known heavyweight venture capitalist, his name is Andreessen Horowitz. He just launched a ginormous $2 billion fund focused solely on crypto investing. So it just shows the intent and further adoption of the digital currency as a real asset class. Right, moving on to stocks. Boeing. Now, a lot of good news and catalysts around Boeing this week. Firstly, United Airlines announced plans to purchase up to 100 new 737 MAX aircrafts. Secondly, nearly all stockpiled 73 MAX aircrafts have been sold. And thirdly, a really big order from Qatar Airlines on the 777 freighters. Now, another big hurdle for them is to still climb. Just yesterday, Chinese regulators are apparently close to recertifying the 737 MAX, but it could still take several more months. Now, this is despite the fact that it's been 6 months since Western countries like the US lifted the long flight ban on the 737 MAX. I really like this stock. I own it. I've held it for a long time. I'm going to continue to hold it. I think current levels are around 250. I think there could be more upside in the long term. Just my thoughts and my thinking. Right, on to Shake Shack. Stock ripping higher this week after announcing the fact that they're going to be expanding further into the Chinese territory. They're planning on expanding outside of their current and upcoming locations in Shenzhen, Macau, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. Now, another stock that I do own, I've owned it for from the 50s or so. I've been selling some on the way up, and I was thinking that if you take a look at the share price and expansion of Chipotle, massive expansion that they've seen and growth that they've seen, I just wonder if Shake Shack could do something similar. And yes, I do acknowledge that the burger space is much more saturated and has its challenges, yes, but I see a lot of room for growth. The market cap of Shake Shack is only around $4.5 billion versus Chipotle, $42 billion. So keep an eye on Shake Shack. Onto Coinbase. I love this business. I speak about it regularly. This week, investment bank Canaccord Genuity becoming the 13th firm to initiate coverage with a buy rating on the stock. Now, aside from the buy ratings, there are just 4 hold recommendations and only 1 sell recommendation on Coinbase. Now, the average target price for Coinbase is $377. Currently, the stock is trading in the low 200s, one that I really, really like. Also on Coinbase, out this week, they'll be launching soon in Japan. They've just registered with the country's financial services agency and will start offering up to 5 major cryptos for Japanese investors to start trading. Now, this opens up a whole new market for them. Really, it just means more transactions, which will ultimately equal more revenue. Now, where do they roll out next? I think that there are a whole lot of new regions which they could ultimately break into. So I really see a lot of growth potential for Coinbase. As I said, I really like this stock. Moving on to Splunk. They're a technology software company that offers software for searching, monitoring, and analyzing machine-generated data via a web-style interface. Now, they've significantly evolved their business over the past few months and years, really transforming to become a much bigger cloud-type company. Now, this week, they announced that Silver Lake, which is a leading global technology investor, will make a $1 billion investment in convertible senior notes to support their continued transformation of the Splunk business. Now, the Silver Lake announcement shows the real strength of the overall fundamentals of the whole business. Also reiterates the fact that their cloud strategy and the high growth trajectory is really intact. I really like this stock at current levels. They provide easy access to the entirety of an enterprise's operational data, delivering insights that can really aid in business decision making. So now that the $1 billion Silver Lake investment has been injected into Splunk, that money will be used to fund growth initiatives and manage its capital structure. The stock was around $220 or so just a few months ago. It's now trading at $140 or so. I like it down here. I also own Splunk and I've been adding to it at current levels. Watch that space. Next up, Doordash. Now, Doordash stock up nicely this week on big news that they're partnering up with Albertsons grocery stores to offer on-demand grocery delivery from nearly 2,000 well-known Albertsons stores across the country. Now, this could challenge the likes of Instacart. Uber is really trying to do the same thing. People want convenience, and there are tons of competitors, but this is such a large market. Now, it's really interesting to see how this develops. As a reminder, DoorDash is an online food demand aggregator really, and consumers can use its app to order food on demand for pickup or delivery from merchants mainly in the US, but they're also in Canada and Australia, but this week launching and expanding into Japan, so growing globally, also a really big growth company. Now, moving on to Beyond Meat. The stock was under pressure this week on reports that Dunkin' Donuts pulled the Beyond Sausage Sandwich from their menu. I don't know, I've never owned the stock. I love a good ribeye steak, so I'm not too into the vegan stuff, but I don't know. Retail investors love the stock. It's been superb since it's IPO'd, but I really wonder where it goes to from here. On to big US banks. Bank shares are higher this week after stress test results from the Fed were released. Now, what are bank stress tests? It's an annual health check which was introduced in the wake of the 2008-2009 financial crisis to really see how banks would fare in an extreme hypothetical economic downturn. Now, this week, the Fed announced that the biggest US lenders could easily withstand a severe recession. And according to the test results, the 23 financial institutions that participated would experience substantial losses under the severely adverse scenario, but would remain well above their minimum risk-based requirements and could continue lending to businesses and households. Now, why this matters and why am I mentioning it? Because the US banks are going to start issuing as much as $130 billion in dividends and stock buybacks from next month. Now remember that last year, During the pandemic, US regulators halted bank capital distributions, so that's all changing now, and we'll start to hear more on this from next week, Monday. Interesting because it kind of adds some sort of support or floor to current banking share prices. On to Nike, reporting absolute blowout fiscal fourth quarter earnings and sales that massively topped analysts' estimates. Now, largely fueled by record revenue in its largest market right here in the US. Revenue in the May quarter nearly 2 times to $12.5 billion, which is from $6.4 billion just a year ago. Now, Nike's direct sales, those items ordered through its apps, websites, or own stores, were up 73% to $4.5 billion. Now, it also offered a better than expected sales outlook for the upcoming year, driven by optimism around its women's category, apparel business, and its Jordan brand. Its wholesale business also performing remarkably well. What else caught my eye? Some big IPOs coming. I see that Sweetgreen, they're all over here in New York City. They charge about $15 or so for a salad. They're going to go public. Also, Soho House, the hotel and restaurant club, they want to IPO. And kicking off the process next week, LegalZoom, the online legal services company, is set to go public at a share price between 24 and 27 US dollars. Also, New York-based Warby Parker, the New York eyewear maker, has confidentially filed to go public. Warby Parker, known for its fashionable eyewear, founded in about 2010 or so by 4 classmates. Lastly, big IPO news yesterday, BuzzFeed confirming plans to go public via a SPAC. Now, last year, BuzzFeed was finally able to diversify its overall revenue streams, and first time it turned a profit since 2014. So keep an eye on those IPOs. The second last stock for today is going to be Virgin Galactic. Now, shares are surging around 15% today. That's really after the company said it had received regulatory clearance from the FAA to fly customers to space. Now, the FAA approval marks the first time the agency has licensed a space line. Now, this stock has, I think, more than doubled this year already. I know the retail traders love this stock. Keep an eye on Virgin Galactic. And to wrap it up this week, lastly, Microsoft. Now, Microsoft shares touched an all-time high this week, trading around $266 a share. Interesting because Microsoft joining the Apple in the exclusive 2 trillion market cap club. Now, Microsoft investors are betting on long-term growth for both their earnings and their revenue. The two are the only American companies to have ever reached such a valuation of $2 trillion. A few other really big tech companies are very, very close behind, including Amazon, which has a market cap of around $1.8 trillion, and Google around $1.7 trillion. Also, big news on Microsoft this week. The new Windows is finally here. Windows 11 is adding support really to Android apps for its laptops and PCs for the first time, and also incentivizing developers to put their apps in the Microsoft Store by giving them 100% of revenues from all app sales. Now, that really challenges the likes of Apple and Google, who charges 30%. So some of the cool new features on Microsoft Windows are an upgraded interface, features for multitasking and working across multiple screens. Also, a direct integration with its messaging collaboration platform known as Microsoft Teams. And also, there's new gaming features, including an Xbox Pass integration. That's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you've enjoyed this video. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.